Now then, joining us, Cameron, today we have a single cask Benromach, which is a distillery I've always been a fan of. I feel like they're got lots of integrity.
Me too.
They sort of make whiskey the way it should be made.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on Benromach?
Yeah, I love the distillery. I love the fact that it's still very hands-on.
Yeah.
You know, there's still so much touch points throughout the distillery when they're making the whiskey.
Yeah.
That's something that their distillery manager, Keith,
Yes.
who's been there since the distillery was built, I think, is really famous of. He's really sort of proud of. He loves the fact that there's all these touch points that's still handmade, and they still feel like they're making whiskey the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, you know. It's Gordon MacPhail's first foray into owning a distillery.
1997, 98, I think.
Yeah, 98, they reopened it. They bought it in 93. And Stephen Rankin, who's one of the family members, he remembers painting the fences outside the distillery in 1993 during the summer holidays.
Yeah.
So it's, he's maybe come a long way, and he's now in charge of 70, 80-year-old whiskies. For the company.
Benromach's in Forres, in Speyside area. Obviously famous for producing whiskies such as Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, Macallan, which are generally quite sweet and fruity and nice. Benromach is, as you say, quite traditional in their stance. And I think one of the ways that comes through is their slight use of peat to give that slight sort of smoky finish to their drams? Is it kind of a smokiness throughout, do you think?
I think a smokiness throughout. I think that the fact that the Gordon MacPhail, they had the benefit of that 10-year break that the distillery had, being closed in 83 and them buying it in 1993. Yeah. They could kind of reinvent the distillery and still keep it very true to what it was. So it was Gordon MacPhail that reintroduced this slight bit of peat to a Speyside whiskey. Yeah,
which I think gives it a lovely twist, because if anyone's fortunate to try, Macallan from, the 40s, 50s, often that's got a very slight smokiness to it as well, which is really interesting to compare to.
It's using that peat where coal would have been used prior to that, but was still in ration after the Second World War. So to have new era Speyside whiskies utilising that peat from Tomintoul region. It's a great point to set it aside.
I always feel Benromach's got such kind of depth to it, kind of similarly to, almost in a way, to Highland Park, that's kind of got a bit of sherry influence and a bit of smoke. It's kind of similar to that, and it's very well rounded. And each time you try it, for me at least, sometimes different aspects of its character shine through more brightly than others.
Yeah, for sure.
So really, I've never had a disappointing Benromach. This one in particular should be quite interesting. This is a single cask distillery exclusive, distilled 2011, bottled 2019. So fairly youthful, kind of 8 years of age. But it's been matured in a first fill sherry hogshead and is one of 299 bottles. So sherry casks, as we know, will contribute a lot of sherry flavours, kind of dried fruits. But with it being first fill, what sort of difference do you think that will make?
I mean, I'm expecting a real intensity to this whiskey. Okay. We're speaking about quite a young whiskey, 9 years old. Yeah. But you look at the colour, first of all, it's a beautiful sort of amber colour, copper colour, and you are expecting that intensity to really follow through into the final dram.
Yeah, it should be very, very intriguing. It is bottled at full strength. It's 59.1%, so this could be one where a touch of water might not go amiss.
Yeah.
But let's crack it open and see how it fares. Right then, even I must say, even pouring it, you could smell the aromas coming through.
Yeah, it
So I think
jumps out the
your
glass, doesn't
predictions
it?
of it being quite intense and quite full on, I think are going to be spot on.
Yeah.
From the colour, I've guessed it's a first fill, but it's a sherry hogshead as well. So obviously probably kind of half the size of a traditional sherry butt. So with the kind of wood to spirit ratio being much higher, there's going to be a lot more sherryness to it.
For sure, yeah. It looks really delicious. It looks very, well aged for
Yeah.
for
Yeah, as we
what
say,
is
for
actually
a
on the
young
bottle.
whiskey. Should we give it a quick nose? Obviously, with it being cask strength, we are expecting a fair amount of prickle, but it's not.
It's not overbearingly so
No,
though. The alcohol is definitely there. You can tell straight away it's a cask strength whiskey. It's not overbearing. There's a lot of those beautiful sort of, almost smoked apricot notes from those amazing first fill sherry.
Yeah, it's quite sort of like juicy on the nose, isn't it? Lots of like, blackberries and raspberries, these sort of things. Yeah, but I think often the smoke sometimes it is tricky to pick up on the nose, but I don't know. I do feel it is sort of lingering there,
For
and
sure,
it just adds that slight kind of rugged edge to the whiskey.
Yeah, it is. The cliche is Highland Park-esque for Benromach, but it is definitely that. It's got that subtle, very like fragrant smoke that's not dominating the dram at all. It's very, very well integrated.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it should be lovely. So we'll give us a little taste.
Absolutely.
Blanche.
Cheers.
For me, the smoke is quite prominent on the finish. It's quite like almost like an ashy smoke that comes through, which I've had a few peated Bunnahavens, which have that real like sort of ashtray smoke, different to that sort of medicinal iodine smoke you get with Ardbeg, Lefroy, whatever. But it's real sort of dirty smoke.
Yeah, it's like those dying embers in a bonfire almost. It's that beautiful wood smoke as opposed to the big medicinal peat smoke
Absolutely.
like you say.
Yeah, it is fun. There is, I don't know, I'm surprised. I was expecting more of a sherry hit. It is there. Could be that it's, it's easy to forget that it's still a fairly young whiskey.
Yeah.
I think if it was, 12, 15 years old, the sherryness would be much bigger and much more prominent. It is there, but for me, it is that smokiness which jumps out.
Yeah, the smoke on the nose is a background.
Yeah.
And then on the palate, it really kind of comes to life and it swamps your whole mouth almost.
Yeah.
It's really, really thick, black, like we said, dying bonfire smoke. It's really nice. But
yeah, it's a real complex dram though. I think for people who think Speyside whiskey is always sweet and clean and a nice summertime dram, this is definitely not, I would say. But it's full bodied, it's complex, different sort of layers to it. It's quite heavy going. It could be one. Should we try it with a touch of water? I think just tame the beast a little bit, and let's see how it develops. So, having added a touch of water to it, on the nose, it's immediately sort of less. I wouldn't say it was aggressive before, but it does seem just a little bit tamed down, a bit more approachable.
yeah, definitely. The colour's completely changed. It's almost, turned this beautiful
Like almost
golden
like
colour.
Yeah.
And the smoke's been tamed as well. It's much more juicy now. You get a lot of red berries, blackberries, cherries that you were speaking about earlier.
Yeah, it's lovely. On the palate as well, actually, with a touch of water, it's almost, maybe it's because we've been talking about Highland Park, but it's almost like it's turned into Highland Park. It's just very gentle, not very gentle, but compared to what it was, just much more mellow, much more well-rounded. I feel the smoke is much more kind of understated. It's more that sort of wispy, heathery smoke you talk about with something like Highland Park.
Aromatic smoke is definitely there. And I think with the addition of the water, that allows the sherry to really shine through a little bit more as well.
Yeah.
It's not quite as restrained with the alcohol that it was before.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Do you think you prefer it with water overall? Obviously, the complexion's changed completely. It's just a different whiskey.
Yeah, I think so, and I think this is the perfect example of, some whiskies do really need that little bit of water just to help them give you their full character almost,
Yep.
This is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, and I think obviously adding water to it is a great thing to experiment with, because sometimes just a couple of drops can change it. Sometimes you can do, nearly 50-50 whiskey to water.
Yeah.
In which case you get 2 bottles for the price of 1, which is always good.
Yeah.
But it's, I liked it before water, and I do like it afterwards as well. I think it is a bit of a beast on its own. I think there's a lot of share and a lot of smoke. So I think you really have to be in the mood for it.
In the mood, yeah. Very mood dependent whiskey.
Yeah. Would you say it's, obviously when you talk about sherry casks, often people mention the sort of sulphur note. Is that something that you feel you can pick up sometimes, or?
I'm not super sensitive to
I'm
it,
the same, I think,
which I'm quite glad for.
Yeah.
Because I think it can be a note that really can ruin a lot of whiskies for a lot of people. But yeah, I'm very fortunate in the fact that I'm not very sensitive to it.
Yeah, I've had an 8-year-old Kilkerran in sherry casks, and that was the only time I was like, actually, I think I'm picking up sulphur.
Yeah.
So it was just all like bonfires and smoke embers and all of fire and brimstone and all these sorts of things. And this is sort of reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
In some respects.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Similar age, similar cast type, probably a similar strength.
Yep. Yeah.
Probably a similar peating level as well to that Kilkerran. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a complex one, but I think if you're in the mood to wrestle with it, it's stunning.
Very rewarding. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, a great thing to try. So yeah, slash.
Cheers.